Welcome to Cooking Up Some History. Each week during the holiday season, we're going to be rating the Chester County History Center Library's old cookbooks and giving their vintage recipes our best shot. The successes, the flops, and all. On today's Cooking Up Some History, we're heading back to the 1970s with a recipe from Quaker Flavors, a 1976 cookbook from the Willistown Friends meeting here in Chester County. The dish is pork chop and potato combo, but today we're just making the pork chops and the ketchup gravy. I'd never heard of ketchup gravy before moving here, but it turns out it's a very Pennsylvania, very mid-century thing. And honestly, I think it works. Ketchup actually started in Asia as a fermented fish sauce. English and Dutch sailors brought the dish back to Europe in the 1600s. Here in North America, it was most commonly made from mushrooms, not tomatoes. Tomato ketchup shows up in Philadelphia around 1812. Using ketchup as a glaze or gravy on pork and meatloaf really takes off during the Great Depression and World War II, when families needed cheap flavor and moisture. By the 1950s, ketchup-based gravies were everywhere. By the way, while doing the research for this, I also found a pork cake recipe that starts with boiled pork fat. Nothing says 19th century dessert like a cake that begins with hog fat and ends with you questioning every life choice that led you here. Let's get started. As always, the full recipe and notes are down below in the comments and description. First, wash and dry your pork chops. If you have time, you can leave them uncovered in the fridge for an hour or two, on a wire rack if you've got one. That helps dry the surface, and we'll be using that rack again later. While that's working, mix your dredge. Flour, salt, pepper, paprika, and sage. I use smoked paprika, and I highly recommend it. You can swap in basil for sage if that's what you've got as well. We're going for a light coating, just enough to help give the chops some crust. And don't toss your excess flour mixture, we're going to need that later for the gravy. Heat your oil to about 350 to 375. I'm using peanut oil because it can handle the high heat. When the chops hit the pan, the temperature will drop a little, and that's okay. Just make sure that the oil's not smoking. And now, a pork chop joke. An honest farmer was invited to attend a party at the village squire's one evening, where there was music, both vocal and instrumental. On the following morning, he met one of the guests who said, "Well, farmer, how did you enjoy yourself last night? Were not the quartets excellent?"
"Why, really, I can't say, for I didn't taste them, but the pork chops were the finest I ever did eat."
We're not cooking these all the way through on the stove. Just get them nicely browned, not burned, and then move them to that wire rack with a pan underneath so they don't get soggy. Once you get them where you like them, pop them into a preheated 375-degree oven. While the chops finish, let's make that ketchup gravy. Mix your wet ingredients first: cream, ketchup, and Worcestershire. I added that in from the recipe. Now it's time to get the gravy going. Pour off most of the leftover oil in your pan, and then saute your onions a little hotter than medium. Once they're translucent, I like to throw in some bell peppers. I added those a bit later on, after the onions, so they keep some texture. Now sprinkle in a couple of teaspoons of your dredge, stir it around, and cook out that raw flour taste. Slowly pour in your cream and ketchup mixture, stirring constantly so the temperature doesn't drop too fast. Keep stirring until it comes together into a smooth, glossy gravy. When the color and thickness look good, cut the heat and set it aside. Now it's time to check your chops. They shouldn't need more than 10 minutes or so. Use a thermometer and make sure they're at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit inside. Don't go too much higher or they'll dry out. And now for the magic. This gravy was actually fantastic, and I had to make more immediately that same day because my family wanted seconds. I highly recommend it. But now, I'll leave you with a bit of Chester County wisdom from the village record in 1862. Surely that man may be envied who can eat pork chops for supper and sleep without a grunt. I had no regrets. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos in this series. See you next time, and thanks for watching.